Hello everyone and welcome back to BTS Americas 2. We are now into some semi-final action and it is Team Imagine going against Complexity Gaming here. I'm KotLGuy for Beyond the Summit and I'm going to be joined again remotely from my good buddy Blaze. Blaze, welcome back my friend. Are you amped up and ready to see some Complexity versus Team Imagine? Oh, Blaze, I can't hear you. Sorry, that might be my bad. I don't know what is happening. Why can't I not hear this man?
Remaining.
I got it unmuted, right?
5 seconds remaining.
Oh, I know why, Blaze. I know why. This is my fault right now. I have switched the device earlier today, and I forgot to do so on Little TeamSpeak here. So I am doing it right now. And Blaze, hello. How are you, my friend?
Hello, hello.
Sorry about that, my friend. Hello, welcome.
No problem at all. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this matchup. It's going to be pretty intense. I mean, Complexity have been showing a lot of strength with the current lineup, and have been pulling out some really cool strategies and different heroes that we aren't used to seeing entirely. And while I would generally speaking give them the favorite, Imagine have been showing some real strides. I mean, obviously the match that we saw up against the High Council was just a magical experience, just showing the underdog in incarnate, really enabling them to just pull out some amazing stops. And I will have to apologize for any baby rage in the background for a couple minutes here. It's past somebody's bedtime.
Nice. So we're going to be working with a nice little TriCast here with little baby Blaze, probably giving an occasional yelling stats. I'm down with that. But look at this. So already an early opening Wisp here. Complexity, you know, for most teams, Wisp is the hero of the last meta. We, you know, used to have that at it, you know, the first pick, first ban phase, but Complexity have dusted off the old ball, and they're like, we see still lots of value in the Wisp, and we'll pull it out almost any chance we get. As you know, recent as a day ago in their matchup against Cloud9 for MLG, they ran with the Tiny Wisp combo. Before that, in BTS Americas, in their match against Void Boys, we saw it was Wisp and Sven. And ideally for them, if they can ever get the magical duo of the Swindle Gyro and Z-Freak Wisp, that has been their biggest powerhouse hitting duo. But they just have been loving the Wisp. Blaze, what's the deal? Why do Complexity just enjoy it so much? Or do they just think they play it better than most teams can and they just can't deal with it? I just feel like now in a day where you have Wyvern, who they have banned out now, and still some other good go-tos, he just hasn't really surfaced so much.
Well, there's two strengths to drafting Wisp, in particular as a first pick here. First of all, Complexity is a team that favors rotation power. They are the ones who like to respond to situations, get all hands on deck, lots of TPs, lots of movement across the map. Storm Spirit paints a perfect picture of that as well. But yeah, the Wisp relocate will enable them to make movement beyond level 6 to get to the fight and get in position for what they want to accomplish. The second thing is, it's actually interesting, when you first pick IO, you know how the draft is going to follow through because they're going to be looking to counter it with what AoE abilities are available, or perhaps a disruptor with the glimpse. You know what you're up against, so it's kind of allowing you to predict your opponents by first picking this. They're going to respond in a certain way, and they can tailor their draft to that. So, like you said, a lot of times they pick up the Tiny. If the Tiny ban comes out, they can work with that too. And, I mean, they do favor some good healing heroes as well. Anybody that can sustain the Wisp also sustains his tether target, so there's a lot of value there.
5 seconds remaining.
But yeah, I'd have to agree with you, though. The thing is that so much more emphasis, it feels like nowadays, with strategizing, pre-planning, pre-preparing, and the draft itself, and pulling that kind of ace in your sleeve like a Wisp out so early just leads to so many opportunities for a team like Imagine now to just kind of understand where Complexity are looking to take the tempo of the match, you know, when they're looking to peak at. And Team Imagine just gets so much information at the start now, even throwing the Storm Spirit in just is like, okay, we got to keep an eye out for something like a Clockwork. They might do that classic, you know, global setup where they just have so much super mobility. Complexity could even consider, like, what if they just grab up the AA for themselves? They deny the, you know, the counter pick from Imagine, and they get to the benefit of like a, you know, lead in, and then the Ice Blast, the Storm Spirit jumping. It just makes for easy pick off hit and runs. But I don't know, how comfortable are we about the idea of maybe an AA Wisp duo? We know someone needs to be selfless, you know, because Wisp is going to be busy elsewhere.
Generally speaking, it's not bad, but you have to run in a very specific way. Essentially, what you do is AA plays hard support just for the opening items. Wisp still opens bottle with the bounty rune start, and then from that point forward, he just suddenly becomes a 5-position support where he's buying wards, buying courier. And the only thing you can really expect from the Wisp is wand, magic wand, bottle, urn of shadows, and like maybe boots or TP. Like at that point, you're like running this full 5-position Wisp. just moving around and using those basic items to sustain your team while the AA goes for something bigger. And I mean, it definitely can work, but there is a big greed factor, and it also doesn't have much control. I mean, Storm Spirit doesn't pick up his stun until like level 8. The cold feed is not reliable, and Wisp doesn't bring anything in terms of disable directly. So although he can slow, you're not going to be able to prevent any kind of blinkers or any other mobile heroes. In fact, they're going to ban out the anti-mage here.
Yeah. It was still the last time they pulled out the Wisp when they went against Cloud9. They just got so many easy, quick counters. And, well, they were fortunate at that time to get something like a Wyvern, but they themselves grabbed the AA. And something else they had that game that made me look over and realize, no Bounty Hunter. Not acknowledged at all. No ban, no pick. Either team not really putting the value into it or recognizing that this is going to be an appropriate game for someone like a Bounty Hunter to really be able to thrive and do his job. Is there still value in getting something like that Bounty Hunter? And it could be a cheeky pick. Probably more so now for the side of Complexity, but I say that and I'm like, no, they can't. They can't. They have a Wisp. That just doesn't work. But what about for Imagine here? Lena's in a core position. Earthshaker could be going off. Witch Doctor Bounty Hunter duo? Does that seem feasible?
I definitely think it's possible, but I don't think it's what we're going to see here. I love Bounty Hunter. I think he's an amazing hero, but it just seems like, at least in this first game, it's not what we're going to see. We're probably going to see it be picked up in the second or third game, but right here it seems like they've already kind of figured out what they want to do with the draft so far. And it's just not going to be oriented around the Bounty Hunter at all. I think Complexity even maybe wanted Imagine to pick it up because they know how to deal with that with the Storm Spirit and maybe picking up a couple other good answers to it in terms of the laning phase. But it's not going to be on the table for either side. Instead, we've got really fighting supports, and they're going to be very, very involved. Now, Complexity here, they've got the Storm Spirit, they've got the Wisp. This, I wouldn't say it's a great backbone for fleshing out the rest of the lineup. You are kind of set in a couple different ways, but if you can just find like a good offlaner to make a longer jump, then you can find some value out of that. And, I mean, there's a lot of ways that they could actually make that work for MJW.
Yeah, MJW, we know him as being typically a top-notch Clockwork kind of a player, but he's definitely shown his craft elsewhere. We haven't seen him play a whole lot of Darkseer, though. He was one of the first things that popped into my mind as maybe a potential option here for Complexity in that off lane. Not one to really jump like you were hoping to get. There's still other options out there, maybe if they wanted to dive back. And we saw recently, I can't remember what team now, when they picked up the Tidehunter, and if he wants to go down that to get some sort of jumping initiation to go along with this Storm Spirit already. But they're digging deep in this clock. So
oh, definitely. They're not sure. But anything with a Blink Dagger, honestly. But they're not even going to go that route right now. They're going to pick up their other support. Now, it's worth noting they didn't have to pick the support here. We already see so many support-esque heroes on Imagine. It doesn't seem necessary to pick up the Visage as far as it being picked or banned. It could have been a fourth pick, but they actually want to keep their fourth pick secret or get more time to think about it. So they're just going to pick up the Visage for now, which is just strong in general. I mean, you're going to have great ability to burst people out, kill off the Witch Doctor before he gets to really tap into the Voodoo Restoration or Death Ward too much. Familiar stuns are amazing against Witch Doctor. Like those things can just run right over the top of the team fight, and they will dive bomb right there to stop the Witch Doctor ulti. So a lot of power with that, a little bit more push emphasis. Means that they can kind of split the map a bit. I mean, they can split push with the familiars, have the relocate to back it up. I think there's a lot of value in the pick, but again, these are greedier supports, and one of them is not going to be able to get like the mechanism, whereas the other one might not be able to get the Solar Crest as early as you'd like them to.
That's exactly what I was going into, or about to go into there at the end of your thought was, it all sounds good, and you can already see how they could work together, but I do fear for the greediness, and one of them is going to get left out, and one of them, it means that they're going to be a very easy Laguna target, fissure setup. Now Spirit Breaker gets involved. Oof, this Bruiser gets in your face and you're a weak little broke support. You're not going to be too happy, and you might be handing over a lot to the other side. But not thinking too long about this fourth grab, though, they immediately pounce onto the Ember Spirit here for Ziz. Now, let's go over these last two picks a bit here, Blaze. Spirit Breaker for Team Imagine. I mean, are they anticipating a lineup where they're just going to be more aggressive and just play to their peak in the early to mid game? And then for Complexity's response to the Ember here, has that nice insurance policy. He's a very high ceiling, you know, so he can take it to the late game and still be able to peak. Are they having him as kind of an insurance policy where the other four can kind of get the job done? What do you think, man?
I think the Spirit Breaker has a lot of initiation potential against the heroes you see here until level 6, of course. Then it becomes a little bit more difficult to pin down the Storm, the Ember. Ember has Sleight of Fist dodge and Searing Chains dodge as well. I think the Ember's a really strong pick in response to the Spirit Breaker, and it probably indicates Complexity want the Dark Seer here. Dark Seer, Ember Spirit, pretty classic, and even if you're up against like a Phantom Lancer, which is still in the pool, you shouldn't have too much trouble when it comes to the late game experience there. Spirit Breaker is going to be able to really give them momentum in the laning phase, but this Naga Siren is possibly a one position. I mean, yeah, you can argue that there are other heroes in their team that can fill a one position. We haven't seen the Crit Shaker in a long time, but I do believe that they're looking for the carry Naga here. And as long as you control your illusions properly, that can actually beat a lot of what Complexity are bringing.
You gotta control them well, though. I mean, it's into an Ember Spirit after all. Very good at being able to deal with those kind of illusions into the late game. But I agree, there's definitely a lot of benefits to the Naga. She can certainly rain on the parade of a Wisp, either looking to set up a big gank, catch her off guard, or if they're looking to get the setup onto them before they could get away, she has a lot of capability there. And definitely the reach that can come out with the Spirit Breaker and like Earthshaker. So it's very intriguing, and it looks like they're going to be happy to contest Complexity's high ceiling in late game. Now, what do they need to round out this lineup? Offlaner, Mikey J. Wyke. There's only so many options left. Do you think something like the Darkseer is still your best bet?
I think so. I mean, there are limitations, some good control, Fisher block, stuff like that, but it's still the best pick. You want the vacuum here. You want somebody that can blink in. You want somebody that can build the mech so Z-Freak doesn't have to. That kind of thing. We're going to be seeing Way 2 take the 4 position here, and the Wisp, although he'll start most likely with the Bottle Rush, from there he will be playing full support. So I think that's where MJW fills that slot, is he's going to be able to build the mechanism, or otherwise they'd be lacking it entirely, which is pretty important to note. On the other hand, yeah, that Naga is going to be core. I presume the Lina as well. Yeah, Chibi Lina, man, this guy plays so much of it, and he's even one that popularized the North American branch of it, at least, and just the solo mid, Yule's Rush. I mean, there obviously were plenty of people that did it before him, but he was the one that really started hammering home, and he still has some of the highest Laguna output per game statistics, just when you look at the stats.
And with that, we're going to go ahead and rock right into game number 1 of this best of 3, our second series today for BTS Americas. We're in semi-final action. By the end of the day, we'll know the 2 teams that are going to compete tomorrow in the best of 5 grand finals and towards that $10,000 prize pool. First place takes $5K of that. Second gets third. Third gets 1. So big money up here at stake for a lot of these teams who are still trying to make a name for themselves, and some that are trying to establish, you know, that they want to maintain their already going fan base here. Imagine we saw yesterday put up a hell of a performance going against High Council, Wizards, and Priests. Mr. Meniski Fangay, a.k.a. CoL, as he likes to call himself in this game. Not the real CoL, but a disciple himself. Put on a stellar performance on that Storm Spirit. Almost ratted the game out, and just next thing you know, the creeps took over and the game was done. And then for Complexity also, they battled their way all the way on through, and their history may be a bit hot and cold since TI and their roster change, but they still stand tough and have been kind of at least taking a couple of wins off teams you'd think that they would get swept by. So this is going to make for a good match.
Yeah. I think that's actually one of the reasons why the Storm was such a high priority pick. The second pick, Storm, isn't that foreign in North America, but getting it out of the hands of Team Imagine actually does help Complexity's potential a lot, because, oh, actually MJW does not get hit by a level 1 Maledict. Oh, he does barely. It's purple on purple, hard to see, but it looks like he'll be able to regen out of it anyways. Level 1 Maledict is actually really weak, but it gives me a chance to talk about some unorthodox skill builds. We've got level 1 Maledict on the Witch Doctor. They just thought they had the combo with the Fisher to do sufficient damage, and I guess that was just kind of a first blood skill. A lot of Witch Doctors are usually going for like a 4-1 build that doesn't emphasize any Maledict, and usually not even that much in the Voodoo Restoration. So we'll see a bit of a different style from Flying Zebra. And the Lina is actually going for something a little bit different too. No Light Strike Array, Dragon Slave, and Fiery Soul. He'll go probably 1-1-1, or at least hold the skill point for a little bit, but it's a different way to build as well.
Well, I could trust Shibby. We already know how much he plays the hero, and I'm sure he's used to going to almost every type of matchup you can imagine. I'm sure he's also had his share of Wisp duo lanes. So I'm sure he's adjusting accordingly based on past trend. But I have to say, for the first blood kind of engagement that broke out, I don't know if I'm sold on the level 1 Maldic, which you see here
definitely
using
not.
I think the coconut is just what reigns king, and it could have even helped out Nushim a bit, who he was even off with that fissure. Had that fissure blocked, that could have been their first blood, but it was just off, and that's unfortunate.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't advocate for Maledict, maybe even at level 2, it depends. But if you have really good control, the Maledict can be high function. I guess the idea is they'll have an snare in the future, but yeah. I definitely wouldn't say that it's a very valuable skill at this stage, and it just happens to be his unique build, and I was trying to at least express his point of view, even though I personally disagree.
Now, it is, worthy to note, now, they committed to the Darkseer at the end, knowing it came after a Naga and anticipated position 1 Naga. It's kind of a scary lane. Should the Naga consider even just a value level into Ensnare just to stop that surge, get away from Darkseer? I think it's a value point she should consider. At least for now, definitely. Could be holding the point.
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to interrupt that thought. If you look down bottom real quick over at the pole, this is actually really unfortunate. They didn't find the sentry ward that was in the trees. There's an observer that is also outside the sentry ward's range. Like, they just got absolutely destroyed as far as the wards go on this pole camp. Twice over, they just completely whiffed it. So that was timing out, so that was pretty critical. There was also a sentry hiding out in the trees over here. But no matter what, it's just like, no matter what they try to do there with the sentry wards, they're going to be a little bit upset about the pole being completely on lockdown. It was actually really good warding from the offlaner there, Jenkins, so really nice. As far as back to that question, Ensnare I think is pretty important here. I would say a 1-1-2 build would make sense to me, though I have seen many core Nagas just completely ignore this skill.
Yeah, it's good for Jenkins that ward wasn't taken away. He made that early TP commitment and complexity, who didn't really even bother too much with scoping out that bottom lane. I guess they're just like, well, we'll wager we'll have the 2 sentries for bottom. We got to get it right, but as we've seen many a time, sometimes it's that 50% chance where you think it's going to be on one side or the other, or if it just ends up being out of the ring by inches, and it doesn't work for them. Top lane, though, Coconut onto MJW, and he's trying to walk away. Good body blocks there from Noosh. He's eating a lot of damage. That last tick could be enough. Oh, suddenly a wild Dragon Slave comes from the south. It's a little Shibby. It's going to secure that kill and get, imagine, the first kill of the game.
And so the wildfire looks to spread. It's actually pretty important. We're actually going to see Swindle in some trouble here. He's going to get hit by 1 stun. Looks like there will be 2, and that should be a kill.
Oh, but Z-Freak's here, and he's doing his best with overcharge, but it's not going to be enough. He'll go down. Suddenly a wild Soul Assumption flies out, and they're going to get at least some redemption there, but they do lose out big, does Complexity. They get Swindled down. Imagine gets another good follow-up grab, and they'll push ahead 2-1.
Yep, Soul Assumption very powerful in those situations, but also very mana-intensive. This guy has absolutely nothing left in the tank. He's just going to leech mid, and then probably go back to the fountain in order to get his mana back. An out-of-mana Visage really doesn't contribute much at all, so bottle refill is probably the only way they can try to make that work, and they will, yeah, Z-Freak will go ahead and go for the bottle tether play, and only use the sips that he gets for free, as Swindles is kind of still wanting to focus on his own. So we have 2 bottles online, 1 for the Wisp, 1 for the Storm Spirit, giving them some significant degree of sustainability, but it also means they have to get the next set of runes.
Right now they're working on a big boy stack, a wealth of farm that will make up for the unfortunate demise of Swindle in the mid lane previously. But you're right, that means there's a lot more emphasis because of those bottles to make sure they can maintain control of the runes, which we'll see probably coming up the 6-minute mark. Now, they already have Nushim, who had rotated into this mid lane to assist Shibby a bit now that they see that it ends up being almost a tri-lane in the mid. Oh, look at this. Oh, almost a follow-up catch with the LSA. And it's going to be enough to just force the Visage back a bit. Jenkins makes his return back to the bottom here, participating in that kill. He's at level 5 now, and almost actually up to snuff with Ziz on the other side. But he's got to get some more CS, and 18 and 2 though is certainly nothing to scoff at. Jenkins is having a pretty solid start on the Spirit Breaker.
Yeah. Nice thing to note though is that because of the first blood, Shibby is still not that far behind the Storm. Although the last hit score looks really bad, the fact that he is actually 25 last hits behind, it doesn't make that much of a difference because he's still got that kill. And yeah, we're looking at now only a 200 net worth difference on the Lina, who's 1-0 and 1. And in fact, that was a really smart play to try to go for the Visage there. At level 3, the Visage is almost never going to have Gravekeeper's Cloak, and therefore he's probably one of the most squishy heroes in the game when you look at like his base magic resistance being only 10%.
Bottom, they will quickly farm up this stack and full pull through. Let's check out Mikey J. White up here. He's got his headdress and stash. Flying Zebra's poking at him from the back here. Got 2 into the cask now. And it's going to be enough to force him back in a way. Noosh is going to make his return up there as well. Shibby goes on his own adventure and will be farming up. And it looks like it's just going to be a bit of a calm here until we get to that mid-game period, Blaze, when level 6s start coming together and these supports kind of get their ultimates online. Who do you think will get the upper hand? Who's going to look to push the pace a bit and try to take a couple early kills?
I think Complexity is swinging back pretty hard, especially if you look at the levels and the supports. The fact is, the Visage has been getting solo experience in the mid, while the Wisp and Storm Spirit have been jungling. It's really efficient movement on the map. They're farming stacks all the while, so Storm's getting some good momentum, and everybody's getting levels. So we're going to see level 6 come out really soon for a Visage, and he's actually the lowest of their experience. Z-Freak is practically to relocate here at 7.5. This greedy support duo is working out very well because they're taking a huge advantage out of the jungle, and I expect that to make the greatest impact unless Imagine are perfect in their fight execution. They're going to go ahead and gank up MJW. That will be a very easy kill with the Spear Breaker being level 6. But whether or not they follow that up with objectives is another story entirely. I would have to say that while they're great at finding those kills every once in a while, the Complexity are stronger in fighting, and they're better at digging their feet in.
Yeah, and as you can see right now, it seems still even a bit unsure if they want to push the pace here at the top lane and try to get some early shots in at that tier 1. They already step back after their gank and just kind of reevaluate what they want to get done next. While Complexity now, you're looking at a Wisp who's getting closer and closer to that relocate. And that could be something to fear from the side of Imagine. Force them to kind of stay together. They're also able to clear out that tier 1 on the bottom lane. No one here to stop it. But he's still not level 6 yet. Is it got to be something that Imagine are going to be fearing here? Oh, top lane, look at this. Ziz jumps in, gets the chains connection on the Noosham. And the charge is already out, but help is not close. Noosh is going to begin to burn and crisp away to the Flame Guard. Help shows up. Flying Zebra dishes out the cask. Will not be grateful and bounce back to him. Noosh is still on retreat mode here. The heal comes out, and now Flying Zebra is going to be the sacrifice, and they're still going to be able to make a move on the Noosh. Finally, their help to show up, but it's too late. 2 already go down. Can they at least get a return kill? Oh, LSA going to be off. Dragon Slave not much better, and he actually avoided the Laguna. Ziz now on the retreat. Still will end up going down, but what a crafty little play. MJW is going to be the next victim. It's a double kill for Shibby and ends up making it a 2-for-2 trade.
Yeah. If his remnant position had been better, like on the defense, instead of right there next to the tower, he probably would have lived through that just because of that really clutch timing. But although the invulnerability frame dodge was intense, it doesn't change too much, and Imagine pull ahead a decent bit. Now Way 2 is going to get the Grape Chill on Spearbreaker. Might not actually get a chance to bash here. And yeah, they're just going to regroup and make sure that the familiar push can't do too much, because we already see Way 2 was able to get a full volley to clear out the creep wave and to at least put a couple hits into the mid-tier 1.
Complexity step back, and they're going to make more stacks here. Z-Freak already ready to turn this into a quadruple, it looks like. Ridiculous amounts of farm. Top lane, Ziz has eyes on tier 1, is already creep cutting, putting it behind, but the charge is out, and Imagine are on the roll in. Will they be able to get Ziz? He already remnanted it out. They're going to lead in. There's going to be the Yules. MJW is on the move here. Doesn't have a mech to help, and they just annihilate the Ember. He's going to be going down, and the follow-up charge will connect onto MJW. He's trying to run away. Swindle's waiting for them to come. Now he jumps on in. He's looking to make a go on the Flying Zebra. Song is there, but it's not being pulled out yet. Swindle just goes down. Immediately, Flying Zebra's going to be able to finish him off. The longest Nether Strike ever. Olympic leap here coming out from Jenkins. And now the Song. They can make a big setup here, take out MJW, and maybe get a follow-up kill on the Way 2 have done successfully. Beautiful LSA combo, and they both will get dropped. Team Imagine come out huge here. The biggest, most convincing fight thus far in Game 1. They take out 4.
Absolutely. They take the birds too, so for 40 seconds, Visage has nothing to bring to the table. The Wisp just had to sit there and watch his friends die. Like, there was nothing the Wisp could do in that situation. Just how quick the kills came out. The Storm Spirit in particular got really caught out there. Like, in general, it's unfortunate the Darkseer started the fight that way, but Swindle going in deep, that was a very aggressive play, and he got punished for it pretty heavily. So Imagine are now swinging forward in net worth. They've got over 1,500 in their favor. Experience is up theirs as well, and I mean, that's how you want to start the game as a Nagasirid team. Getting that Radiance is the step towards victory, and it's usually the weak point is when you're just about to get that Sacred Relic. Well, Shilankwa or Mineski Fanboy is moving very rapidly towards that item, and they're winning fights in the process.
Complexity quickly go to their offshore account now of a jungle to make up for the farm they lost in that big fight. Swindle on the path to get back into relevancy, I guess you could say. That was an ambitious jump in he made. I don't know who the ideal target would have been. You got to remember you're fighting into a song as well, and he just felt like he was going to be able to get some sort of backliner real quick and get out. Jenkins, though, on the charge. Swindle, who is invis, will be detected. Does he have any sort of detection, though? No, they have a sentry, and he's going to be near enough. They drop a follow-up. They get another strike, Coconut, and he goes down. Persistence coming out from Imagine, and they are rewarded with it on a takedown of Swindle.
Wow, that was an ambitious kill from Jenkins, but collaborating with Flying Zebra perfectly, they just barely nailed it. Just getting the exact spells and the exact range of detection they needed to keep him locked in place. That was actually a little lucky, but it was actually really well coordinated as well. Imagine now have the Death Ward to work with, and as soon as they get that kill, they immediately smoke up and look to pick off the Ember Spirit. They have the control for it, they have a lot of stuns as they've shown off against the Storm, and they're just looking for their opening here with the flank.
They're going to roll in. Smokes are popped. Z-Freak's there. That's going to lead to the Yules. He's going to be able to make it out and away. He tethers away, but the stun's still there. Alive for now, and now comes the counter fight from CoL. Swindle looking to jump in right into an Echo. Swindle then bumped back from the 17%. They already annihilate both Shibby, though, and Flying Zebra. Now they're looking to go for Jenkins here. Jenkins will be caught out and brought down. And, they see Nusham. They ping him. He's running, though. He's one little cow, man. He's not going to be able to make it away here. Swindle bottling up will be able to jump to the high ground. They eat the fissure. Nusham running away. Where the hell can I go? I got no TP. Lord have mercy, please. Oh, hiding here. Maybe? Juke? Tree Juke? He's just running. He might make it to safety. Here comes Cask. Maybe he'll be enough to help him. Oh, they get the chains, and they're going to get the kill. Another fissure does fly out, but it's on his dying corpse, and now they might get Zebra. Zebra's going to get pulled back in. And there's going to be the Soul Assumption. Swindle gets the last hit, and they're going to end up making it how many all day now? 4? 4 all day, I believe. Maybe 5 if you count the second death of the Witch Doctor. They just get one after the other after the other. Now, all the meanwhile, they had the Naga who'd been farming up this top lane and is about to take a tier 1. But Blaze, did they lose too much, as they are still able to get this Darkseer bottom lane, and they still continue to go for Swindle. Swindle, Soul Rings, barely with any life left, makes a long jump, and oh my goodness, he might make it out.
Yeah, pretty intense. Swindle twice now is very lucky to be alive, but it definitely turns out that Imagine we're overcommitted to that situation. I kind of think in hindsight they made the right movements, but Complexity just got the better hits, and the bird stuns from way to and the fight in the Radiant Jungle was absolutely insane, and it really set their team up for success. Now Nusham, just trying to place a ward, is just going to be going down with Visage to pick up the last hit here. So I feel like it was so close. Like, the Storm Spirit easily would have died to Laguna, but Shibby went for the Light Strike because he thought he was going to live for, a few more seconds. Instead, he gets double Familiar stunned. They clean him up. He doesn't get the Laguna out. And although, I really like the movement from Imagine there, and I think they made the right play, it just was way too good with those bird stuns.
Naga gets the relic now done. She's getting closer and closer to that Radiance, and then a Naga game begins, followed up with your Boots of Travel, and her farm starts to get pretty damn gross. Look at Ziz and how he can match up in comparison. He still falls behind about 1K in net worth terms. He has a Drums and Aquila, and he's obviously been participating a lot more, as we've been seeing more from this Ember trend. Bottom lane, though, holds himself into the lane, and Nushas comes over, is not going to have any part of it. So they look to pull back, and it looks like they're just going to go back to their passive farm play here. But overall, you can see it's a good for most of the side of Imagine. I mean, even the Darkseer, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong side. Darkseer, it farmed up in comparison to Jenkins. That's actually pretty close. Blaze, I don't know what point I'm trying to make right now, to be honest with you. It just seems like everything is nearly split down the middle. Yeah, at this point.
I mean, I would say so. I mean, obviously there are two that are topping out. The Naga and the Lean are doing really well for themselves. I don't think that'll happen. In fact, he barely takes any damage whatsoever. But, yeah, no, it's still, like, overall the farm is pretty evenly distributed. It's a very back and forth game. And I think a lot of how everything's going to progress, I'll relocate top.
They move in. MJW, the Yules follow up. They have the song now.
And they don't have a tower to TP to, or they would absolutely look to turn this.
Now, do they pursue here from CoL? They thought about it, even committed the surge, but I guess with the relocate expiring, and now they're back at mid lane.
They're happy to at least waste the cooldown there. Unfortunately, obviously, they don't get the kill. But that's the difference between Storm having an Orchid and not. His momentum has really been stifled this game, and he's not able to silence the Naga, which is otherwise a counter. I mean, essentially the Naga has to have BOTs, Radiance, and Manta Style to deal with the Orchid Storm, and obviously he's just now working on the Radiance. So Storm has the right idea in mind with his items, but he's just not there yet.
And they're persistent for this tier 1. Imagine holdout, committing the glyph. Now the creeps are back. And it looks like Complexity don't want to be wasting too much time as a group in that mid lane, so they split back so they can finish those items you were talking about here. As Swindle gets closer to finishing out that second Oblivion staff, he'll head with his brother Z-Freak through the woods and look to finish it out. But looks like Imagine are onto this. They smoke, and they're heading right in. They already have the charge out onto Z-Freak, and here comes Jenkins. Leads in, gets the bump, follow-up fissure, Nether Strike. Still trying to make it away here, gets the bump. They get also the kill on the Swindle with the Laguna. Beautifully executed smoke gank. They infiltrate Complexity's woods. They catch him out farming, and they're going to be farming them up. Now,
I don't know if they can keep going, though. They don't have the Death Ward. They kind of just immediately stutter step that, and we're going to see Ziz cancel out the charge. So, could be instead some damage going the way to Jenkins, but I think they're a little worried for that. So, yeah, that's 2 consecutive Death Wards that really aren't on point for Flying Zebra, but this is just the beginning for him. He's got plenty of opportunities this game.
Never refuse gold.
Certainly so. The Radiance now in hand for Naga. So the farm begins to grow. She's already sitting at top of the net worth here. Look over at Chibi. And these 2 components in for this Agnum Scepter. That could be pretty damn scary. The nice thing also, she has...
No, that's complete. That's the whole Agnums.
Oh,
Jeez.
Jesus Christ. Yep, here it is.
18 and a half minutes. That's pretty intense.
You gotta remember the nice thing for the Lina versus Ember matchup as well is she has the Yules, so it's pretty much a free purge on the Flame Guard. It sets it up beautifully after, so he's going to be taking a huge amount of punishment, plus also now Laguna being pure damage. Flame Guard, yeah, not going to be doing too much with that.
Yeah, I mean, if you just think about it right now, if 3 levels away, Alina will be able to one-shot the Visage. Obviously, he's going to get a little bit more HP from now and then, but Visage is very squishy without the Gravekeeper's Cloak, and the pure damage punches right through.
Really step back. Ziz now has his boots of travel here for the Ember, allowing him to kind of get into the fight and get back to base to quickly power up if necessary. Still Imagine his toe up, or his matchup with Naga in the bottom lane. As we check out top, Zebra going pretty damn deep to put down a ward. They see him and they instantly go for him. And yeah, that was just a self-sacrifice to put down a very aggressive ward. And I would not be surprised if Complexity are like, yeah, what the hell was he doing there? Probably planning a ward. Let's get a sentry.
Yeah, a little bit of an awkward game from Flying Zebra, I would say. Maybe he's overemphasizing shot calling for the team, and he's focusing more on their movements rather than his own. But he hasn't really been on point so far, and hopefully he'll shake that off a bit. But his team's doing really well, though. Radiance, soon to be BOTs for Naga, the Yules, Aghanims, and even Earthshaker's going to be approaching the Blink pretty soon if he doesn't get picked off here.
I mean, they want to fight, though. A bit risky. He blocks off the back path with a fissure, which will not connect, but the follow-up echo and all the damage from Shibby certainly will. They'll get their pick onto the Ember, and it looks like Way2 and MGW were already heading their way out. So they TP back, ends up being a successful pick, taking this Ember out of the picture. But we always have to continue to question, imagine if they're able to follow up with objectives. Do they even care about following with objectives, Blaze?
No, they got a Naga.
Or is it
She's
just wait out
about
for the
to hit her
Naga?
stride.
Yeah, anytime that they can prevent CoL from pushing into their base is a win in their book to stall things out for this Naga so much more.
I mean, as the game progresses, that'll be less true when the Ember Spirit gets his Battle Fury and things of that nature. But right now, they are just in get gold overall mode. They have Radiance, they have BOTs on Naga. At Manta Style is when they probably start getting more aggressive as far as real objectives. For now, a tier 1 tower is the most they really want to force, and
Radiant's middle tower has fallen.
Oh, Swindle leaps back. Oh, nice catch of the song comes out from Naga. That leads to an easy pick onto Swindle, and it looks like they didn't even know Z-Freak was there hiding in the woods, so he'll be able to get away with his life, but he had to watch his brother just get murdered. And you can imagine that's pretty damn dramatic.
The relocate was actually canceled by the song there, so yeah, no chance. That was actually just completely outplayed by Mineski Fanboy. Really good timing, and of course he had all the vision he needed for it. Blink Dagger up for the Earthshaker, and this is where we go back to that item thing that we were talking about before for complexity supports. They seem to manage it pretty well with how they use their jungle in the laning stage, but now look at where we're at. We've got a Medallion and 1,700 gold on the Visage. You've got the Bottle, Urn, Wand, and 1,500 gold on Z-Freak, and you've got a mech on your Darkseer. Like, what game-changing items are you looking for on the supports? Do we look for the Solar Crest, which doesn't do a damn thing against Naga? Do you look for the bigger healing items on the Wisp? Like obviously going Arcane Boots and other sustaining tools. It'll get the deny at least, but I don't think like they're gonna get much out of this Wisp's items. Maybe Glimmer Cape is the play though.
Yeah, I mean Glimmer will certainly help, but if they do decide, imagine to kind of fall in, they're getting almost close to that point where it's maybe they consider picking up a gem and just trying to kind of take control back and moving. Oh, what I miss. Alright, charge out towards the bottom here. Ziz knows that it's like they want to still be able to push, press the issue, try to get some damage on these tier 2s. Don't let Naga feel comfortable. I mean, if they're able to kind of get lots of farm, then everyone kind of benefits from it, and they can just allow Naga to continue their whole thing. But if Complexity can at least get them into their own base and on a high ground, then they only get those little bits of breadcrumbs of farm, and they know that Naga has to pretty much take it all. I mean, she could end up bottlenecking her own team, but they don't feel that kind of pressure right now, and you know, that's a fault for Complexity. They need to kind of get to a point, and as you said, what items will get them to that point so that they can continue to just kind of keep Imagine uncomfortable.
Hard to say. Obviously, the Battle Fury is the only key one I can think of. The Orchid is already there for Swindle. He'll probably look for Bloodstone next. Good items, but not game-changing ones. Again, I think the Solar Crest does very little for this particular game. Like, a lot of times it's a game-changing item against right-click carries, but Imagine is kind of lacking that. Jinken's still going to get caught here by Searing Chains, the jump, but we'll try to fight it out, and he'll at least tank through the first volley.
Oh, Boot to Travel Naga, who has a song ready to go.
Is under attack.
Not gonna happen.
That's unfortunate.
That
Another
means...
Wisp should die too. He has Shadow Amulet, so he'll try to psych him out, but I don't think it'll change much.
Oh, it might though.
Like, he has no escape route. Oh, TP? TP? Oh, Z-Freak.
Okay. It's not the first time we've seen him pull that one off.
Middle tower is under
And he'll
attack.
be able to make it away with his
Dire
life. They do lose
structures
Swindle,
are
of course,
fortified.
but they're already on the move to this top lane, pressuring this tier 2.
Dire's top
And
tower is under attack.
they still have a Naga song, though,
Radiant's
for
middle
Imagine.
tower is under
Shibby's
attack.
looking to roll in with the Yules. He has a Blink now. Blinks in. There's the Yules. Blink pickup. Oh, not going to catch the LSA. Quick Remnant out. And Ziz is a regular Houdini, and suddenly he's at the bottom of the game.
Yep, just moving and farming. Gotta get that Battle Fury up. That's of the utmost importance, and trying to think of what else they can really make work for them as far as actually starting to manage this Naga Siren. Sometimes you see like Diffusal or Dagon 5 picked up to try to kill off illusions conveniently, but I don't see any of Complexity's members really finding that as a convenient pickup. So maybe they just have to find like ways to get into the Roche Pit. Maybe look for like a geometry site, start trying to take map control, and try to find one objective after another.
Top lane, though. They're looking to engage MJW. There's a good catch with the fissure. Forces out a relocate for defense here. Jenkins still alone. Swindle jumps back and in, maybe hoping to catch the backstaff, but they do turn back onto Jenkins and take him down. Forces out a relocate just to save MJW. I wonder if that's something Imagine look to use. Ooh, mid lane. We catch the back end of it. They catch out the Wisp, and the quick Laguna will pop the ball and turns into a 1-for-1 trade.
Yep, relocate back. It just kind of slates him to fall long term, but I gotta say that maybe you need a pipe for Complexity. Like, you don't look at these heroes and naturally say pipe is the item you have to have, because like Ember and Storm, they're all about jumping in and out of the fight, not tanking through it. But if you can get it on the Darkseer, I think that could help a lot as far as dealing with the Radiance pressure and actually getting something accomplished when it comes to a real sieging position, because otherwise you're worried about Echo Slam and Radiance constantly, and you're gonna just overall have some trouble. So we do see the gem, which map control is huge here, and trying to kind of fight for every bit of ground they can is going to be very important. And then B, I do think they might look for that pipe.
What about a Shivas, though, for MJW? Unless you think it's something that Swindle should just pick up instead. You think it'll help a bit against the Naga, maybe removing some of the illusions, helping keeping the pushing back or pushing forward? Do you think that could be a possibility?
It's not bad. I mean, it definitely works fine, and it can help out in some capacity or another, but I don't think, like, it's gonna solve all your problems. Long term, you're worried about more than the illusions. You want to find a good fight. You want to find an opportunity to break the base, and I don't think Shiva's kind of is a delay of game item. Like, you're gonna stall the Naga out, take away some of her farm by killing off a few illusions, but you're actually not pushing yourself forward to actually win engagements. It's just, it helps, but it's not, again, game changing.
Well, we'll see. For now, the Darkseer at least will step off and get that Blink Dagger. Makes it a lot easier for him to get that kind of crucial setup. Already has the 3 points into Vacuum, 2 into the wall. So the team fight potential for Darkseer is definitely on line and ready to go, with TPs on hand just in case as well. But Imagine continue to just take the time that's given to them to just farm their half of the map. And as long as Complexity aren't looking to creep into their side and force them back inside the base, they will take this opportunity to continue to swell up as much as possible and get that Naga slithering closer and closer to getting to her critical mass. She had already finished out the Manta. I mean, it's just all of a sudden those items start popping together almost as fast as what we saw from like an Alchemist. Once the Radiance came online, it was like suddenly the boots. Next thing you know, I touch back, she's got a Manta, and now already the point booster here, Blaze, going for the new Octarine core. And how many people have been praising how good it is on this Naga, being able to soak up the burn from Radiance, reduce the cooldown, of course, on the Illusions, on the Riptide. The item just seems like a godsend for a hero like this.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not like the hero needed it in the first place. She still has been prevalent in so many different patches, as long as it's in the right hands. But it does happen to really help her out. I'm just glad that KotLGuy didn't get too greedy and at least got the Manta beforehand. Otherwise, he probably would have died like twice to the Storm at least. But no, the Octarine core makes the hero tanky. I guess the strength of it doesn't go to the Illusions. The Illusions aren't tankier because it's bonus health instead of bonus strength. But even still, the cooldown reduction is the big thing. You suddenly are going to be looking at a 45-second cooldown on your Song of the Siren, even less so on your BOTs. It's just insane when you can pretty much have your Manta up constantly and your mirror image as well.
Do you feel like it's kind of replaced the position of like picking up a heart instead, and now you can kind of focus on something else like a butterfly now that the Octarine core is getting closer to completion? Maybe.
It depends on the AoE. Like if you see that Shiva's Guard, you probably still want the heart. But in this case, they're not really forced into it. Man, that's a full 5-man movement against him, and it's not going to find anything, unfortunately.
This is the bit of a sticky situation I want to just kind of interject. And oh, hold on, they have actually a relocate play. They're looking to go for the Naga here. They get the silence, but she quickly uses the Manta and the Song. Birds will stun her, though. She can't make it away. It looks like Complexity might finally grab this slippery little Naga woman, and they do. Soul Assumption's going to get the finishing blow, dominating for way too. But all the meanwhile, the rest of the team, they have been moved in and hunkered down inside this Roche pit. Do they have the damage, though, to take it quick? Complexity already, I would imagine, muscling through this top lane, going to get this tier 2.
Yeah, I think they can accomplish it. The Lina and the Earthshaker are both really good in this position to just keep the Roshan stunned and keep putting considerable amounts of damage into it. So they will lose the Naga, but they gain something that actually allows them to put forward momentum out now that the Naga is as farmed as she is. So in the end, although you usually breathe a sigh of relief, they're going to see that Aegis pop up and get a little bit worried about where their next success will lie.
Yep, they actually just did not. I was anticipating, like, with a Naga down like that, not having to fear of the Song, and maybe they could have taken like a scouting report for a moment to see, okay, there's no one really in the other lanes, and then maybe considered like pressing the top lane a bit so that they could, you know, force them out from hiding. But they didn't end up really going down that top lane too much. They stepped off, they found some farm, now they draw back, and imagine kind of just get a free Aegis, and the Naga doesn't have to worry about dipping into or buyback piggy bank or anything, and they're even going to deny the top tier 2. So I think Imagine still got to feel pretty damn good about where things are going right now. And the note I was going to make before the fight broke out is, you know, MJW, I understand the commitment for a Blink Dagger and putting more emphasis on maybe proper positioning for setting up your big ult, but you got to imagine that's going to be pretty hard. You're going against a Radiance Naga after all. She sends those illusions out there. You're not going to be blinking anytime soon.
Yeah, it's tough, but I think it's still really important because it goes with the Ember Spirit and the Storm. You all jump in at once. You get technically you can have all 5 heroes jump across the map with the relocate, with the base ability of the spirits to jump around with their ultimates, and with Surge Blink. Yeah, you can pretty much engage at an extreme distance, and he's probably the one that was lagging behind to an extent. The Visage and him were the ones who were going to have trouble getting to the fight. So although it's impossible to use that to escape from the Naga Siren, and it's very annoying to do it around illusions, it is still going to be important for actually like getting in there and getting the spells out as necessary with your team's initiation. Down bottom though, now that there's an Aegis on Chibi, like tier 2 is definitely dead. I can't even imagine a 5-man back wall doing enough.
I mean, and this is Imagine pushing for tier 2s when I'm sure Complexity were hoping they were going to be the team to first break through tier 2s and possibly tickle the high ground a bit before Imagine were going to be in a comfortable spot like they are now. But it's them actually pushing the issue. Bottom lane tier 2 will go down. Do they decide to move on forward? No. They see the pressure coming possibly back at their base, and they could quickly get all hands on deck here. Neutral deal with this top lane. Is it enough to commit an Echo? It certainly is. Follow-up from Jenkins. Nether Strike, and these two get it done. Get him alone. We'll take out the Ember.
Perfectly done. A lot of players will wait for the Spirit Breaker to get close, but that would be a 0% play. Instead they go for a near 100% kill with the perfect chain stun. Really nice execution and great timing from the Earthshaker. It was a greedy play from the Ember to even be that far forward. I figured he'd farm that last wave and back into the jungle, and then he might be in some trouble, but not that bad. Instead, he goes right up to their base, and he gets punished pretty heavily. Nice movement from Nushim and Jenkins alike. They've really been on point in terms of catching people off guard.
You can't help but feel now for Complexity's side and the Wisp. Is this really now much of a Wisp game at this point? What's his contribution to this besides trying to be the ejection button for maybe someone who could be caught out? Or is that just what his role is going to have to be delegated to? Hoping that maybe he's not going to be the focal point of these fights. Just sweating it out inside that dirty little Glimmer Cape in hopes that Imagine won't spot him out and annihilate him quickly.
It's a lot in life of the 5-position Wisp. When you relegate the hero, he cannot be like right up there in the fights. And also, they of course don't have your like basic strength melee hero that you pair him up with to be in that aggressive position. Instead, he's going to be playing back. He's going to be avoiding getting stunned at all costs. And he's probably, his biggest strength is going to be late game mobility. The fact they can actually move heroes across the map even more than we've already seen.
Looked like they wanted to at least keep Ziz back. Very obvious charge up, but look at this. There's a Yules on the Z-Freak. He does the self-glimmer, and that glimmer don't care about no Ags Laguna. Chibi just instantly takes him out, phased. And we were already getting ready to talk about his unfortunate position in this game, and there's Exhibit A. He does manage to get caught, will go down. Imagine now with the advantage in numbers here, there is still a buyback on this Wisp. But they're going to see if they can get as much early damage in as possible. There's got to be only a few more moments left on this Aegis, and it looks like they wanted to put it to use. But look at Swindle. He will try to at least build up some split pressure here, and it has forced at least Jenkins back.
You're still going high ground against a Battle Fury Ember Spirit and a Darkseer. Like, no, if you pick off a support, that doesn't change the fact that you can't really breach high ground. And I think if Imagine are winning this game other than wiping the enemy out, oh, tries to go for the song play again. It's only going to be the 45-second cooldown, though. Either way, if Imagine are looking to win this game any way other than wiping their opponents out, it's actually, I think, going to be Naga's Illusions that do most of the siege damage here. They're going to be, poking and prodding at the lanes. A lot of really experienced Naga Sirens will use their song in a way that essentially takes Complexity's heroes out of the fight, but leaves their buildings vulnerable. So I've seen Miracle, the SEA player, do this quite a few times, where essentially it's all about positioning, and you can even consider like a refresher double Songless Siren, where your illusions are constantly sieging and the enemy is completely asleep.
Oh, they're looking for Chibi under that ward. They relocate in, but it's too far behind, and he makes it out from grass, pops his BKB, and they're turning him back to Swindle. He's going to get help from the Glimmer Cape, but Jenkins charges in. He has a BKB now, and he uses it. MJW is able to drop the combo, but it's only going to lead to his demise. Now they go for Swindle, echoing it all, and they're going to get him down. And look at it. It's going to be Mr. Miniski Fanga Chalonqua who's going to get the double kill on his Naga. Team Imagine in strong control here. Now goes to the bottom lane, and will get chained up, but he is happy to build up the pressure and go on in if possible. Swindle has 20 seconds. Very low.
I'd almost say they want to buy back here. I almost would say they could buy back Storm Jump on the Naga, but I guess it might not be worth it just to trade that out.
They also spotted out Z-Freak, and they quickly bopped him in the noggin with a stun, so he couldn't go anywhere, and they'll get him down with the help of the Death Ward from Flying Zebra. Now they're definitely going to be looking to push on in. Oh, this is not looking good for Complexity.
The Dark Seer is still the threat, though. Blink, Vacuum, Sleight of the big Battle Fury damage from the Sleight of Fist. Luckily, there's no crit coming out from Ziz just yet, but it's still risky. So what they're going to do instead is just take the farm advantage, take the Ancients, and keep themselves in that position. Swindle down to 6 Bloodstone charges, and yeah, he just needs more. I think a Hex probably would be his next item, and in the meantime, Naga finishes that Heart. And people, again, will look at the two items, the two really tanky items of Octarine and Heart, and ask why. And the reason is Octarine doesn't help illusions. It does not give any strength, and the illusions themselves are not tankier for it. So the Heart is where the 40 strength really beefs up those illusions.
Yeah, then it only leads to the follow-up is, what about the damage? Is it going to be enough? And bottom lane, Swindle annihilates that illusion. We'll have to tell that illusion's family, I'm sorry, but he's gone for now. But does it have the damage? But when you really compare it to the okay, now he makes another go, but Jenkins will yield to BKB and just get the hell out of there. But we look at the damage scare even on the side of Complexity, and it's nothing to really worry. I mean, Naga still even matches up any sort of damage output, probably even further than what Complexity have, so it's not like it's super necessary, whereas she'll be able to get more damage out with more time in those long-winded fights, and being able to stay alive through them is where she really shines. At least in this particular game, that seems to be what they're going to go for. Another big stack going to be going in farmed up right now from Team Imagine. Seems like they're in a good spot where they can take it easy a bit. Roche will be coming up very soon. We'll get our secondary timer, and it might be something they're also waiting for before they try to go in advance towards Complexity.
Yeah. I mean, you just look at net worth. The Naga Siren's almost double what the best of Complexity have to offer here. It's really brutal that he's just able to accumulate so much, and just going to be looking for bigger items. I mean, obviously, you can look at the Diffusable 2, you can look at the Butterfly, Refresher Orb. Sometimes Blink Dagger is amazing, but obviously it's a cheap item for the slot. One thing to note, though, is that we are going to be looking at a point in the game where Naga Siren is pretty much carrying the entire team, is the most vulnerable, and essentially Complexity are all going to be looking to just smoke play against her. And with that, Imagine might be able to set up a bait, but it's actually going to be Swindle that gets caught out, and they might just have the damage.
Oh, Z-Freak again tried to relocate, but it didn't happen.
Oh, and Z-Freak in the last fight actually didn't, like, he bounced back because he had already relocated, and then 12 seconds later he got pulled back. I'm not sure if Tether was on cooldown, but he didn't bring Storm Spirit with him, and I feel like Storm died the previous time because of that. But in this case, he just, I would say that's still his fault in the end, and he goes down 4 Bloodstone charges, and Z-Freak now down, oh, did he? Oh, he's disassembling, isn't he? Yeah, he's got the cloak in the base. So what he's doing there is trying to go for cheeky survival plays where the Shadow Amulet is actually better than the Glimmer Cape when you're about to bounce back via relocate. So he actually disassembles every time that he's stuck in this situation, but of course the gem will override that.
So he'll go down again, and as it looks like Imagine are just getting themselves into a more and more comfortable position. What were the shortcomings here for Complexity so far in Game 1? Was it not being able to kind of put their game plan out and be more assertive and pushing and pressing those objectives and forcing Imagine back into their base so Naga couldn't really thrive? Or were they not able to put together the best pieces to achieve such a strategy, and did it fall with the draft?
Well, of course, they didn't expect the Naga Siren. That's one thing. Is that's one of those tough last picks to look at. You look at like Huskar, Broodmother, Naga Siren, Meepo, Naga, and there's obviously a few others, but there's a lot of surprise picks that completely can thrive in an environment where you don't have enough control over them. And I would say the Familiar Suns is really strong against the Naga, but not much else. You can maybe Ball Lightning Electric Vortex during a Song BOT, but for the most part, they just don't really have great ways of dealing with the illusions and dealing with the Naga directly. But what it came down to in the end is still their execution in the early game. The fact that Imagine were winning like 4v5 engagements or just other 4v4 engagements, they came up really well in a lot of fights, and I think one of the major wipes would really set the tone for this game.
And now they're able to secure the Roche. The new Aegis will go to Shibi once again, and they're going to head towards this bottom lane. They already have some split pressure coming in from their Naga. Up and above, you can see he's already being a real pain in the butt here for Z-Freak to have to deal with. So just try to issue out the balls as best as possible, and they'll just keep the pressure off. But here comes Imagine now on the bottom. They're going to have Shibi out in front, sieging away. But CoL can't really clump up properly and try to make a fight without getting caught out by something potentially. Now they put their attention towards this Naga. And they have to step off. Plus, they have the song. So, whatever engagement they look to even achieve, they better hope that they have preparation for if a song does come out, they can still kind of hold a good position. This is going to be just very hard, and this is where you're saying they just don't have the control. And you can see there's no control right now. It's like, everyone go bottom. Get these guys. The Naga's coming at top. We got to get someone up there. It's like a plumber's problem when like all the pipes are leaking and he doesn't have enough stuff to plug everything up.
There are a lot of holes in this sinking ship right now, and it just seems like they don't have the wherewithal to counter it all. They actually get baited out by one of Naga's illusions. Kind of smart micro there from KotLGuy, and yeah, they practically got the melee racks at this point.
This is the water just pouring in. I mean, you couldn't have said it any better. The ship is sinking right now, and something's got to be done. Minor relocate just to avoid a cast, which makes the things almost worse between the two of them. Now they jump
top
back
lane's
in.
gone.
And look at that. All the meanwhile, Naga finally gets what she wants done and even gets some good damage there on the Ziz, who's going to be forced back to base. Now they finally get the proper target. They come in, but there it is, the song. See you later. Song of I took your racks and I'm getting the hell out of here. Bottom lane, though, Tier 3 still stands for Complexity. Oh, another strike canceled out. Jenkins going to be popping the BKB instead. Now makes the commitment on the MJW. There's an echo from Newsham. He comes right in with it, but they get the big heals off right now. Z-Freak is going to plant himself with MJW. Big death ward, but the wall catches him out from behind, and now Jenkins looking to retreat, gets the glimmer, turns back, gets him a bash look here on the swindle. Naga's back, though, and Naga comes in. Him and Shibby are able to easily clean up the mess, and Complexity will lose all four, and this will probably be your game, and imagine we'll be up one match in this best of 3.
Really solid movement from them. The Naga pick was insanely good, and all of their early fights were just absolutely on point. They chained their disables perfectly, their communication was impeccable, and a number of the Storm Spear pickoffs. Maybe it was a little bit to Swindle's fault, but a lot of it was just extremely intelligent timing and play from Imagine, knowing their range, their reach, their limits, and collaborating in such an amazing way. They really were able to just show him who's boss here and perhaps start another upset 1-0.
We'll have to see if Complexity can shake that off and come back in game number 2, because it's going to be match point for Team Imagine. They win game 2, they move on to the grand finals to face Cloud9. Complexity need the win to stay alive and take it to a game 3. This is KotLGuy for Beyond the Summit, joined again from Blaze. We'll be back in a few moments for game 2 of Complexity going against Imagine here at BTS Americas.